Video game maker Electronic Arts announcing a $55 billion deal to go private in what is set to be the largest leveraged buyout deal in Wall Street history.
I'm pretty sure now that you have clicked on this video, you've either heard about it or are aware of the fact that EA, Electronic Arts, the studio behind FIFA, Madden, Battlefield, Need for Speed, and The Sims, has agreed to be bought out for a staggering $55 billion. My first exposure to Electronic Arts as a kid who grew up playing PC games in the mid-2000s is the cult classic, Need for Speed Most Wanted, which arguably is the best racing game of all time, at least for me, and the lesser known but beloved Cricket 7. It served as the last entry in EA Sports Cricket series, with the mods and patches being created by dedicated South Asian fan developers to this day. Despite all the infamy that EA possesses today, I'm sure a lot of veteran gamers look upon some of their behemoth titles over the years fondly, and in this video I'm gonna try and explain how the heck this happened and what the future holds. The deal, led by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, also known as PIF, with partners Silver Lake and Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners, pays $210 per share, which is roughly a 25% premium over the pre-announcement prices. And that price tag makes it, assuming it closes, the largest leveraged buyout in history. To put that in context, EA's board approved this all-cash offer, meaning that EA goes private and its stock will vanish from the market once the deal completes. In practical terms, EA's shareholders just pocketed a decent windfall, and the gaming giant can now move faster out of the glare of Wall Street, according to the press release. In case you didn't know, a leveraged buyout is a transaction in which a company is purchased primarily using borrowed money, with the assets of the company being acquired along with those of the acquiring entity, often serving as collateral for the loans. The goal is to enable investors to make a large acquisition to the tune of billions without committing significant equity. Typically, these LBOs happen when people want to buy undervalued or underperforming companies, and then they proceed to restructure them to improve efficiency and profitability, and later they sell them at a higher value. But I'm not really sure that the PIF wants to sell it in the future. Andrew Wilson continues to stay on as the CEO, and people are kind of mixed about that. Corporate ownership just got a lot more exotic. Now, let's talk about who's bankrolling this. First, the PIF, that is Saudi Arabia's $1 trillion sovereign wealth fund, a vehicle for Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman Vision 2030 agenda. Basically, diversify beyond oil and turn Saudi Arabia into a global entertainment hub. PIF is using this investment to push ahead with efforts to become a global hub for games and sports. In short, the Saudis have been on a real-world buying spree. PIF already owned nearly 10% of EA and is just rolling that stake into the... But beyond EA, PIF's portfolio reads like a sports and entertainment fantasy draft. It owns entire sports leagues and teams, from Live Golf, the controversial Saudi-backed golf tour, to Newcastle United in the EPL, and bankrolls major events from Formula E racing to boxing matches. In January 2024, PIF even sponsored multiple electric motorsports series. Critics and organizations like the Human Rights Watch openly call this sportswashing, using flashy sports deals to polish Saudi Arabia's image despite its human rights record. One report bluntly states PIF's high-profile sports and entertainment investments are just used to whitewash the country's abysmal human rights record. But PIF's interests go way beyond soccer and Formula 1. The Saudis have quietly been gobbling up gaming companies as well. Through its arm, the Savvy Games Group, chaired by MBS himself, PIF already bought major esports outfits such as ESL and Faceit in 2022. Plowed billions into mobile gaming maker Scopely of Monopoly Go fame, and became a top shareholder in Embracer Group. By mid-2025, PIF had multi-percent stakes in the makers of GTA, which is Take-Two, Nintendo, Capcom, and others. Saudi officials even bragged that gaming is as important culturally as sports or film. PIF has publicly promised not to meddle with studio creativity, but many gamers continue to remain uneasy. After all, when a country jails critics and bans pride parades, seeing its money behind your favorite shooters raises eyebrows. Ubisoft, for example, quietly set its next Assassin's Creed expansion in historic Saudi lands, apparently with local funding, showing how deep the Saudi pocket influence can reach. The next buyer is Silver Lake, This is a private equity giant from Silicon Valley, specializing in mega buyouts. You probably heard of them as the guys who helped privatize Dell and Skype. Its co-CEO, Egon Durban, gushed that the future of EA is bright and promised that we are going to heavily invest to grow the business. While mostly tech-focused, Silver Lake isn't a stranger to sports either. It quietly owns an 18% stake in City Football Group, the umbrella that owns Man City and other city clubs worldwide. It also owns part of the All Blacks from New Zealand and a chunk of Australia's A-League, and has money in Endeavour as well, the same group that owns UFC and the WWE. Silver Lake even has stakes in Oakview Group, which is a major venue operator, and Madison Square Garden Sports. In other words, Silver Lake knows sports entertainment and sees games as an extension of that world. So them teaming up to buy EA's catalog of FIFA, Madden, and NFC franchises actually makes a lot of sense. Third, Affinity Partners. I would describe them as the wild card here. It's Jared Kushner's private equity shop. Yes, the same guy who is Trump's former senior advisor and Ivanka's husband. Founded just in 2021, Affinity has about $5.4 billion under management, most of which come from Persian Gulf sources, including the PIF. And in the EA deal, Affinity's contribution is the smallest slice, around 5%. But Kushner did get a warm quote in EA's press release, saying he played EA games as a kid and now plays with his kids. Bottom line though is that Affinity is on board mainly as a conduit for Gulf capital and Kushner's own entry into the high finance club. So all in all, I would say that all three of the EA buyers have heavy pockets but very different playbooks. PIF brings the state-backed vision of entertainment, Silver Lake is your typical private equity growth strategy, and Affinity brings a diplomatic passport, I guess. What about PIF's other deals outside of gaming though? It's worth noting that PIF has been on a shopping spree in sports and beyond. They bought into Formula 1, the WEC, Newcastle United, and of course Live Golf, like I mentioned earlier. Disney loaned $2 billion to Jared Kushner and runs massive local initiatives like the $60 million esports World Cup and the futuristic Neom mega project with luxury cinemas and even a plan to build a Saudi gaming city. Basically, the folks writing the checks in Riyadh see gaming, sports and media as pillars of their future economy. They have literally built the Savvy Games group, chaired by MBS himself, with investments across everything from SNK to Capcom. And on the Silver Lake side, beyond tech, they have taken Endeavour private, co-own the PGA Tour's commercial partner, and hold major sports stakes across continents. For them, EA sports franchises are a natural extension of their empire. So what changes now? With these new owners, EA definitely has more cash and a new playbook. The press release touts deep sector experience, committed capital, and global portfolios. Silver Lake already says it will fuel EA's long-term growth. That could mean bigger budgets for games or funding for riskier projects that Wall Street would never approve, although I am very skeptical on that front. But we can have hope that EA might still take creative chances again and revive stalled projects, investing in VR or just launching experimental studios and just giving us good games again. On the sports side, PIF's involvement suggests that EA sports franchises such as FC, Madden, F1, UFC will become even more of a focus. Will we see new Saudi-themed DLCs, a Saudi Pro League mode in FC 27, maybe an EA Sports exclusive tournament in Riyadh? EA already partners with Saudi esports events, so it's not that far-fetched to imagine that there could be some expansions in that direction. PIF's push could also influence localization, more Arabic language options, Gulf region tournaments, even new esports leagues. Officially, they promise not to interfere with content, but extra money often brings extra sponsorships and branding. And of course, gamers have questions. Will Saudi ownership mean censorship or agenda-driven PR? Some worry about private censorship sneaking in. So far, no one's announced editorial control, and EA executives insist that they'll keep making extraordinary experiences. Someone put an asterisk on that. Still, the perception matters though. Every time EA does something controversial, people will ask, did the Saudis influence this? For now, EA will emphasize continuity. Andrew Wilson stays, HQ is still in California, and the development teams keep running as usual. Financially though, this is a massive buyout. EA is taking on around $20 billion in debt with $36 billion in equity. That's a lot of leverage. Historically, these buyouts can squeeze companies hard. Think Toys R Us or Hertz. EA's case is stronger though, since it has reliable cash cows that they just drop every single year, like FIFA, Sims, and Apex. But Silver Lake and PIF will expect high returns. That could possibly mean the opposite of what we were speculating, which means tighter budgets, fewer risky projects, and yes, more monetization. If EA wasn't already at the top of that. Prepare your wallets, microtransactions might multiply faster. Then there's the public perception, of course. Getting bought by the Saudis instantly became a meme online. Someone joked EA now stands for Electronic Arabia, and others imagined camels on the Madden cover. But jokes aside, this is a serious global business. EA is now effectively partly state-owned by Saudi Arabia. That could open doors for massive esports investments in the region, or create a new PR headaches if global politics heat up. The only sure thing is uncertainty. In sum, I guess we could say that EA has changed hands in the most dramatic way possible. And over the next few years, we'll all be watching sports leagues and games releases with one eyebrow raised. Is that a PIF billboard or a secret message? This $55 billion deal ties together gaming, oil money, and even American politics, with Kushner tossed in for good measure. And as gamers, we can crack jokes and clutch our controllers, but behind the humor is a real shift. Whatever happens, one thing is clear. EA's new owners want to play the long game. So for now, I guess we can just keep playing our favorites and follow the news. And maybe recalibrate your expectations for what innovative experiences Silver Lake promised will look. Because in a month's time, EA will soon be Electronic Arabia. And until then, game on and stay. Thank you for watching.